So this is my wife's Andy Miata. If you guys have ever met my wife, she's extremely petite. She's very small. And so what we're going to do is just raise the seat. Now, I do want to say that this is, do this at your own risk. And this is just the way we did it. Obviously I've never done any crash testing, so I don't know. But a lot of other people have done this online. So first, let's talk about the problem on the ND for short people. Unlike the NC, you can't raise the seat. The only thing that you have is this knob here that, as you can see, only raises the front portion of the seat. Now, if you look at the seat, it may be hard to tell, but the seat actually sits at an incline. So what we're going to do is we're just going to raise the back end so that it comes up a little bit more. So what we're going to do first is we're going to remove the rear seat bolts, which are Torx E12s, which I have here. So here's the old bolt that I pulled out of the rear seat. It measures out to be, we'll just say 20 millimeters, 19 millimeter, obviously. So I'd say that the thread on it is about, we'll just say 20 millimeters. And these are what I had lathed up. I made a couple spacers on the lathe here. This one's an actual inch, and this one's just a hair under an inch. And as you can see, this has got like a flanged in. So the thought was just to try out these two spacers. So this one's about an inch and this one's about 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to try these two first and see how she likes it. Obviously I've got a new bolt coming in to replace these shortened bolts. Okay, so the new spacers are in. These are the 3/4 of an inch spacers. I haven't gotten the bolts just yet, so you do want to loosen up the front bolts just to allow you to pivot it, but it's come up quite a bit, so I don't know if we could even really do an inch here just because of how close it already is. I don't even know if we could really do an inch, honestly, because like we are pretty close to the convertible top. Now the seat is forward here, but just to keep in mind, so I think 3/4 of an inch is where we're going to be at. I'm going to wait for the bolts to get here. We're going to put those in and then we'll test fit it. So here are the bolts that we use for the seats. So they're M10 125. These are actually 17 millimeter bolts, which I thought would hit the rail, but they actually fit pretty nice. You'll need a thin wall socket to put them in. So that's the bolts there. I had to loosen up the fronts just to kind of give me a little bit of play to get the spacers in and to align it. So it was a little difficult to align, but the seat is now higher in the back. And it's actually pretty noticeable. Like even I first initially sat in it, I know it's hard to look at it visually, but when I sat on it, there is a pretty noticeable difference. The only kind of concern that I have that you may really want to consider as well is that, so here's the passenger side. It's not raised. This is the factory height. You can see that it's in line with the roll bar here. On the driver's side, you can see that now it is over the roll bar. So if you're a bit taller, do keep this in mind that your rollover protection is not going to be as good. So just, something to bear in mind.